The sharp crack of skin on skin shattered the supermarket's steady hum. A teenage girl, maybe 15, wearing a faded hoodie and jeans, stumbled backward, her hands flying to her cheek. A carton of eggs exploded against the tile floor. Cans rolled noisily under shelves. A loaf of bread spun away like a kicked ball. The thug, thick-necked, buzz-cut, arms covered in cheap tattoos, stood over her, chest heaving with angry breaths. "You think you can just bump into me and not apologize?" he barked, his voice slicing through the frozen air. The girl pressed herself against the bottom shelf, scrambling to collect her fallen groceries with trembling hands. Tears welled up, but she bit her lip, trying not to cry. The crowd stood still. Mothers with strollers. Retired couples. Teenagers holding energy drinks. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Some lifted phones. But all of them stayed rooted in place, pretending not to exist, pretending it was not their problem. At the end of aisle 6, leaning lazily against the magazine rack, stood Jason Statham. An oversized dark gray t-shirt hung loosely on his frame. Baggy cargo pants brushed the tops of worn-out sneakers. His hands were buried casually in his pockets, his posture almost bored. But his eyes were knives. They followed every movement. Calculating. Cold. The thug was not finished. With a sneer, he kicked at the spilled groceries, sending a bag of apples skittering across the polished floor. "Stupid little brat," he growled, taking another menacing step toward her. He raised his hand again, fingers curled into a fist this time. The girl flinched instinctively, covering her head, whispering something only she could hear. The air grew heavier. Shoppers exchanged frantic glances. The low, buzzing hum of panic seemed to throb under the fluorescent lights. And then, a single, slow step echoed down the aisle. The thug turned halfway, confused for a split second. Jason Statham was no longer leaning. He was walking. Silent. Deliberate. The loose fabric of his t-shirt shifted as he moved. His steps made no apology. His stare never wavered. 1 step. 2 steps. 3. The thug's smirk flickered. The girl looked up from her crouch, wide-eyed, catching sight of the silent figure advancing like a coming storm. Jason stopped just short of the scuffed yellow line that separated the checkout lanes from the aisles. The air went still. The crowd seemed to collectively hold its breath. The thug's fist stayed frozen mid-air, suddenly unsure. And Jason just kept staring, unblinking, unforgiving, like a slow-moving avalanche, inevitable, unstoppable. The world had about 3 seconds left before it shattered completely. Before we proceed, like and subscribe to catch Jason Statham's epic face-off with thug bullies and comment where you're watching from today. The supermarket was nothing special, a mid-sized suburban chain crammed with too many products and not enough space. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh, clinical glare across the cracked linoleum floors. Aisles stood packed with rows of colorful cereal boxes, discount soda, and faded "sale" signs taped crookedly to shelves. The faint smell of bleach and freezer burn lingered in the air, mixing awkwardly with the scent of bakery bread somewhere down aisle 4. It was Saturday afternoon, peak chaos hour. Families wrangled kids. Elderly couples argued softly over coupons. Teenagers dragged their feet, glued to their phones. The checkout line stretched so far back they practically wrapped into the frozen food section. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody except Jason Statham. He had ducked in hoping for a quick run, just a loaf of bread, some eggs, and maybe a decent bottle of water. Fresh off a brutal filming schedule, he wanted nothing more than to blend in, stay invisible, and breathe for a moment. He wore a dark gray oversized t-shirt that hung loose on his lean frame, paired with baggy black cargo pants and worn sneakers that whispered rather than stomped. No shades. No hat. No entourage. Just Jason. Quiet. Solitary. He had already spotted the thug before the slap ever landed. The guy was impossible to miss. Early 20s, thick-necked and squat with a sloppy mess of bad tattoos peeking out from under a ripped tank top. His jeans sagged low, showing off boxers emblazoned with skulls. One arm cradled a cheap bottle of whiskey, unopened but very much planned for later. The thug strutted down the canned goods aisle like he owned the place, pushing past mothers and old men without so much as an apology. His voice, sharp, nasally, and loud, carried over the muzak playing overhead. "Respect, man. Ain't nobody got respect no more," he barked, swinging his bottle dangerously close to a toddler who whimpered and clutched his mother's leg. Jason clocked it all. Not just the shouting. Not just the casual bullying. The pattern. The searching. The need for a target. And sure enough, he found one. The girl could not have been more than 14. She wore a yellow hoodie 2 sizes too big, skinny jeans, and battered white sneakers scuffed at the toes. Her hair was pulled into a messy ponytail. One hand clutched a crumpled grocery list, the other a worn canvas tote that sagged with cans of soup and a loaf of bread. She was alone. Her mother, Jason would later learn, was bedridden at home with a fever. The girl had come out on her own, trying to do something good, something responsible. And for that, she was about to get humiliated. Jason watched from a distance as the thug collided into her, deliberate, knocking the tote from her arms. Cans scattered. The bread flattened under a boot. The girl immediately bent to gather her things, whispering a soft, "Sorry." The thug sneered, towering over her. "You disrespect me, you get taught a lesson," he snarled, then delivered the slap heard across the store. Jason's jaw tightened. His breathing slowed to a measured, almost mechanical rhythm. A single tap of his sneaker against the tile, soft, unnoticed, grounded his balance. His instincts stirred, cold and sharp under his skin. He was not moving yet. But the moment the thug raised his fist again, it would be too late to stop him. The crowd still did not know it. But violence was already inevitable. The moment hung heavy. The thug towered over the girl, his chest heaving, his hand still raised mid-air, savoring the fear radiating off her small, crumpled form. "You think you can just bump into me and say sorry?" he barked, his voice bouncing off the metal shelving and echoing down the frozen foods aisle. "You little nobodies always think you're better than you are." His words sliced the air sharper than any slap. Jason Statham remained still by the magazine stand, posture lazy, one foot crossed over the other, but his eyes never blinked, never shifted. His whole body was a taut coil under casual clothes. The thug crouched lower, invading the girl's personal space. His breath, thick with the sour stench of cheap energy drinks, hit her face as he taunted. "Where's your mommy, huh?" he sneered. "Bet she's at home too busy getting high to raise you right." The girl shook her head desperately, trying to gather her scattered groceries with trembling hands. Her yellow hoodie bunched around her shoulders as she bent lower, her small frame shrinking into itself. "You deaf, or just stupid?" he snapped louder. A few bystanders flinched. A woman near the dairy section pressed a hand to her mouth. A man by the checkout line muttered under his breath, someone should stop him, but he never moved, never even unclenched his fingers from the handle of his shopping cart. Phones started rising, but it was not to call for help. It was to record. Jason saw it all. And he measured every single detail. The thug's foot positioning, off balance. The slippery patch of tile by the meat section, an opening. The nearest exits, blocked by carts, shelves, fear. The girl wiped at her tears, smearing them across her cheeks. She backed up instinctively on the floor, crab-walking on her hands and heels, but it only emboldened the thug. He reached out, grabbing her wrist hard enough that she whimpered, and yanked her back toward him. "You gonna cry now, princess?" he mocked. He raised his other hand slowly, dramatically, letting the entire supermarket see what was about to happen. He wanted an audience. He wanted their fear. Jason could see it in the thug's eyes, that ugly, infectious high bullies get when they know no one will stop them. And for a split second, the whole world seemed to slow. The crowd collectively held its breath. The thug's hand cocked back, veins bulging along his forearm. The girl squeezed her eyes shut, shielding her head with her free arm. And Jason's foot uncrossed from the wall. His weight shifted. The loose fabric of his oversized t-shirt flared slightly as he took his first step forward. Silent, deliberate, predatory. Still 10 feet away. Still invisible to everyone but the thug, who had not even noticed him yet. Jason's breathing slowed into a predator's rhythm. A woman near the bakery whispered harshly, "Someone do something!" But her voice cracked, brittle and useless. The thug sneered, looking around at the sea of frozen faces. "Yeah, that's what I thought," he spat. "Bunch of cowards." He turned back to the girl. "You should be grateful anyone's even talking to you," he growled. "Piece of trash like you ain't even worth the dirt on my boots." His words burned hotter than the slap he was promising. The girl shivered, chest heaving in short, broken sobs. She curled tighter into herself, clutching the canvas tote to her chest like a shield. One can of soup rolled from her bag, tapping softly against Jason's worn sneaker. Jason looked down at it. Then he looked up. And he smiled, a slow, razor-thin smile that never touched his eyes. It was a smile that, if the thug had seen it, would have made him run. Instead, drunk on the illusion of power, the thug raised his hand higher. The fluorescent lights overhead glinted off the silver chain around his thick wrist as he prepared to swing. Jason moved again. Quicker now. Silent. Closing the distance. 2 more steps and he would be in striking range. And still, nobody noticed. Nobody except the old man crouched by the greeting cards, who squinted through thick glasses and whispered to his wife, "That's Jason Statham." But it was too late for warnings. Too late for phones. Too late for cowardly prayers. Jason was already in motion. And the thug, the fool who thought the world would watch him brutalize a child and do nothing, was about to learn exactly how wrong he was. The thug's hand was mid-air when Jason moved into his shadow. Without warning, Jason stepped fully into the open. He set his small shopping basket down on the tile with a quiet thud, so soft, so deliberate, it somehow hit harder than a gunshot. Every head in the frozen supermarket snapped toward him, their fear momentarily forgotten, replaced by sheer, electric curiosity. Jason's oversized gray t-shirt hung loose over baggy cargo pants, making him look almost casual, almost invisible, until you looked at his eyes. Those cold, razor-sharp eyes. "Hey, tough guy," Jason said, his voice slicing through the heavy silence like a blade. "You feel like a big man?" It was not a shout. It was not a threat. It was the calm before a hurricane. The thug turned, still gripping the trembling girl's wrist. His head jerked up, startled. For a split second, just a heartbeat, there was confusion. Then laughter. The thug barked a harsh, ugly laugh, like a hyena who smelled weakness. "What's this?" he crowed, throwing a thumb toward Jason for the crowd to see. "Grandpa wants to play hero?" A few nervous chuckles rippled through the crowd. Shoppers shifted, inching closer but keeping safe distance. "You should mind your business, old man," the thug sneered, releasing the girl roughly so she fell back onto the floor with a soft grunt. "Before you break a hip." Jason's stance did not change. His arms hung loose by his sides. His knees slightly bent, casual, yet ready to explode like a sprung trap. He tilted his head slightly, studying the thug like a lion studies a cornered, stupid jackal. "Sure you want to pick your next move in front of a crowd?" Jason asked coldly. The words hung in the air like smoke, slow, lethal, inevitable. The thug smirked, his bravado doubling down. "I ain't scared of no has-been," he said, rolling his shoulders, squaring up. He jabbed a thick finger toward Jason's chest without actually making contact. "You got a problem, Grandpa? Huh? You wanna make it your problem?" Jason's eyes flickered, the only warning he gave. Across the supermarket, someone whispered hoarsely, "That's Jason Statham." The name rippled like wildfire. Murmurings grew louder. Phones lifted higher. Shoppers started forming a wider semicircle, sensing the air about to crack. The thug, oblivious or maybe just too stupid to recognize the danger, flexed his arms in mock intimidation. "You gonna lecture me, tough guy? Or you gonna—" He did not finish the sentence. Jason shifted his weight slightly, barely noticeable, and the thug instinctively leaned back, the first sliver of doubt crossing his face. Jason spoke again, voice dropping even lower. Last warning. 3 words. Delivered without heat, without anger. Just pure, surgical finality. The thug laughed again, but this time it cracked at the edges. You ain't nothing but... Jason moved. A blur. Before the thug could blink, Jason was inside his guard, so close the thug could smell the fabric softener from Jason's washed shirt. Jason's hand flicked out, lightning fast, and slapped the thug's wrist away like it was nothing. The thug stumbled a step back, blinking in shock. Jason stayed relaxed. Still giving him a choice. Still giving him a chance. The thug, face burning red now, embarrassed in front of an audience, clenched his fists hard enough to make his knuckles pop. You just made your last mistake, old man, he growled, his voice trembling with a cocktail of anger and rising fear. Jason tilted his head again, studying him. You really want this? Jason said softly, so only the thug could hear. No cameras. No second chances. The thug roared and charged. The supermarket gasped collectively. Jason's body barely twitched. Just a breath. Just a ripple through his muscles. And the real storm was about to break. The thug's roar cracked through the supermarket, jarring shoppers back into motion. Without warning, he charged Jason, a wild, reckless shove aimed at knocking him clean off his feet. But Jason? He simply turned sideways, casually stepping aside, the way you might avoid a falling leaf. The thug stumbled past him, catching himself against a display of stacked soup cans with a loud metallic crash. A ripple ran through the crowd. People gasped. A boy near the freezer section whispered urgently, "Wait, is that Jason Statham?" Another woman clutched her shopping cart tighter, whispering to her friend, "No way. That's gotta be him." Phones raised higher. Some started recording openly now. The thug spun around, red-faced and boiling with humiliation. "You think you're funny," he barked, fists clenched so hard the tattoos on his knuckles distorted. Jason did not answer. He stood loose, breathing slow and deep, watching every twitch, every coiled muscle. The thug stepped closer, puffing his chest like a rooster in front of a firing squad. "You think you can just walk in here," the thug spat, "and disrespect me in front of all these people?" The crowd pressed back against the shelves. An old man near the cash registers shook his head and muttered, "This fool has no idea what he's just started." The thug jabbed a finger into Jason's chest, this time making contact, a deliberate challenge. "You know who I am," he snarled. Jason's jaw flexed once. His hands stayed loose by his sides. "I run this store," the thug bellowed, voice cracking as he looked around, desperate for backup that was not coming. "I own this floor. I own these people." Shoppers exchanged glances. Nobody was laughing now. Nobody was smiling. They were just waiting. Waiting for the inevitable. Jason took a slow, almost lazy step forward. The thug instinctively flinched back half a step, a mistake he immediately tried to cover with louder shouting. "You better walk away, old man," he roared, voice cracking again. "I'm warning you. I'll wreck you. I'll wreck anybody who thinks they can stand up to me." Jason tilted his head slightly. He looked at the thug the way a professional fighter looks at an amateur throwing sloppy punches. Then, quietly, almost gently, Jason spoke. "You'll leave this floor tonight." A pause, just long enough for the words to sink in. But not standing. The words hit like a hammer. Sharp gasps echoed across the supermarket. The thug blinked. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. He masked it quickly with anger. "Big words, Grandpa," he barked, balling his fists. "Let's see if your bones can back them up." Jason's nostrils flared once, the only sign of what was coming. The energy shifted violently. The crowd felt it too. People started backing up, carts abandoned, groceries left forgotten. Some ducked behind shelves. The atmosphere turned dense, electric, like a thunderstorm was about to break over their heads. Jason flexed his fingers once, a tiny motion. His feet settled into a fighter's stance, weight distributed, loose but lethal. The thug bared his teeth in a feral grin, not seeing, not understanding, that Jason had already ended this fight before it began. He just had not shown it yet. The thug growled low in his throat, a sound halfway between anger and fear, and swung wide, a big looping haymaker aimed straight for Jason's head. It was sloppy. It was desperate. Jason moved before the punch even finished its arc. He dipped his shoulder, letting the fist whistle harmlessly over his head, and stepped inside the thug's guard with terrifying calm. Thud. Jason's elbow shot up, sharp, short, brutal, crashing directly into the thug's exposed ribs. The crack was audible. The thug gasped, his chest folding sideways involuntarily. He staggered. Before he could recover, Jason's open palm snapped upward, connecting cleanly with the thug's nose. Smack. A wet crunch filled the air. Blood sprayed across the aisle. The thug reeled back, one hand flying to his shattered nose, the other swinging blindly to regain balance. The crowd gasped sharply, some even physically recoiling at the viciousness of the strikes. Someone near the dairy section whispered, "Oh my God, he's not acting." But the thug was not done yet. Driven more by rage than sense, he lunged for a shopping cart abandoned near the checkout lane. Grabbing it with both hands, he rushed Jason, head down, trying to bulldoze him like a human battering ram. Jason did not flinch. He shifted his stance subtly, letting the thug barrel toward him like a runaway train. At the last possible second, Jason stepped to the side, planted a low, surgical kick into the thug's leading knee. Crack. The leg buckled grotesquely inward. The cart veered off course. Jason pivoted, fast and low, using his hip and thigh to flip the cart sideways with a sharp bump. It crashed to the floor, wheels spinning madly. The thug, off balance, stumbling, tried to catch himself. He never got the chance. Jason grabbed the man by the collar and the belt simultaneously and hurled him backward like a sack of potatoes, right into a towering shelf of canned goods. The impact rattled the whole structure. Rows of soup cans clattered down like hailstones, hammering the thug as he crumpled to the ground in a heap. Groans filled the air, not from the crowd, but from the pile of broken thug beneath the cans. Jason advanced without hesitation. The thug, dazed, battered, but still stupid, lunged upward, trying to tackle Jason's legs. Bad idea. Jason met him with a fast arm trap, pinning one of the thug's arms tight against his own chest. The thug thrashed uselessly. Jason drove his forehead forward, short, sharp, brutal, into the thug's face. Crunch. A second nose break. Maybe cheekbone too. The thug sagged in Jason's grip, knees wobbling. Jason wasn't finished. Still holding the thug's trapped wrist, he wrenched it sideways with a quick, practiced motion. Up. The wrist dislocated with a sickening, meaty sound. The thug howled, a high-pitched, panicked yelp that cut off halfway through. Jason released the ruined wrist, letting the thug stumble backward, cradling his broken arm. But Jason was already moving. He stepped forward, twisting his hips, and drove a thunderous body shot, a brutal right hook, straight into the thug's liver. Whump. The thug's body seized. He made a strangled noise, half cough, half sob, and collapsed. Folded over like wet laundry, he crumpled to the sticky supermarket floor, twitching, gasping for air that would not come. The crowd stood frozen for a moment. Silent. Processing. Then, somewhere near the entrance, a single clap. Then another. Then another. And then it spread. Scattered, stunned applause filled the supermarket. Not loud, not wild, but raw, genuine, reverent. A man near the bread aisle shook his head in awe. "That was the coldest thing I've ever seen," he muttered. Jason stood over the thug's broken body for a moment longer. He did not gloat. He did not pose. He simply adjusted his oversized t-shirt slightly, calm, methodical, then turned away without a second glance. The girl, still sitting on the floor, wide-eyed, watched him with trembling awe. Jason crouched beside her briefly. "You all right, love?" he asked, voice low but kind. She nodded frantically, wiping at her cheeks. Jason offered a hand and gently helped her to her feet. Around them, the supermarket seemed to breathe again. People moving, whispering, pulling out phones. Jason didn't care. He dusted his palms off once, grabbed his shopping basket from where he had left it, and walked away. The thug remained in a broken heap, groaning and twitching under a fallen stack of soup cans. The thug coughed wetly, curled into himself like a wounded animal. His body trembled as he tried to crawl away, one arm limp at his side, wrist dangling grotesquely, nose gushing blood down his shirt. Every inch he dragged himself forward left a pitiful streak on the polished supermarket floor. He whimpered, an ugly, broken sound. "Please." He gasped hoarsely, voice cracking. "Please. I'm done. Don't hurt me." Jason did not move. He just stood, silently observing, arms loose, eyes cold. The crowd gathered wider now, phones still recording, murmurs rippling like aftershocks through the aisles. 2 security guards finally burst through the entrance, a younger man and an older, heavier-set one. They rushed toward the scene, tense, hands twitching near their radios. At first, their eyes locked onto Jason, sizing him up as the obvious suspect. The thug on the floor had blood on his face. Jason had none. But before the guards could speak, a dozen voices rose from the crowd at once. He was protecting her. That guy, the thug, slapped that girl. Twice. Jason Statham saved her. He didn't start anything. The security guards froze. The younger one blinked, recognizing Jason for the first time. His mouth opened, then shut, as if remembering exactly who he was dealing with. Jason finally shifted. Slow, relaxed. Without a word to security, he turned back to the girl, who was standing a few feet away, still trembling from shock. Her lip was split. A red mark bloomed across her cheek. Her arms clutched tightly around herself, as if trying to disappear. Jason crouched down to meet her eye level, the chaos of the store fading around them. From his pocket, he pulled out a small, unopened bottle of water from his basket. He handed it to her gently. "Here," he said quietly. "Small sips. Slow." The girl nodded, her hands shaking as she accepted it. Jason placed a steady hand on her shoulder, firm but kind. Her knees nearly buckled, the adrenaline still pouring through her veins. Tears welled up in her eyes again, but this time not just from fear. This time, it was something closer to gratitude and relief. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, voice breaking. Jason gave a faint smile, one that did not quite reach his eyes. He leaned in slightly, his voice pitched low enough that only she could hear. "Next time, love." He tapped his own chest lightly with 2 fingers. "Just scream louder. Someone will hear you." She swallowed hard, nodding furiously. Jason ruffled her hair once, a casual, almost fatherly gesture, then stood up straight. The crowd parted for him without hesitation. No one asked for selfies. No one dared to block his path. He walked past the security guards, who now wisely stepped aside, and retrieved his half-full shopping basket, as casually as if he were picking up a loaf of bread. Jason adjusted the strap of the basket over his wrist, tugged at the hem of his oversized gray t-shirt, and without another glance at the broken thug on the floor, he walked out of the store. No drama. No swagger. Just silent power leaving a crater in its wake. Behind him, the girl hugged the water bottle to her chest, watching Jason until he disappeared through the automatic doors. The entire supermarket, bruised, battered, changed, buzzed in the aftermath of a man who had reminded everyone. Real heroes do not announce themselves. They act, and they leave. By the time Jason's boots hit the parking lot asphalt, the internet was already catching fire. Inside the supermarket, half a dozen shoppers frantically uploaded their footage. Each clip caught a different angle. A shaky phone video of the first brutal slap. A clean, heart-stopping shot of Jason stepping into frame. A side view capturing the low kick, the cart flip, and the thug crashing into shelves. Within minutes, the videos flooded TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook like a dam had burst. Hashtag Statham saves. Hashtag supermarket hero. Hashtag real-life action hero. Hashtag justice served. Hashtag Jason versus thug. Hashtag protect our girls. All exploded into trending lists, climbing fast, burning hotter than political scandals or celebrity breakups. Comment sections overflowed. Bro wasn't acting. Jason's the real transporter, loudly crying face fire. Imagine getting folded in aisle 6 by Jason Statham face with tears of joy. Protect that man at all costs. If he runs for president, I'm voting with both hands. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear baggy pants and flip shopping carts. Meme accounts moved faster than news outlets. Jason edited into superhero movie posters. Side-by-side comparisons. Movie fight scene versus real-life supermarket takedown. GIFs of the thug getting launched into canned goods with captions like, "Me dodging responsibilities like." By late afternoon, major news networks picked up the story. Headlines flashed across screens. Rolled-up newspaper breaking. Jason Statham stops assault at local supermarket. Crowd hails him as real-life hero. Rolled-up newspaper action star turns defender. Cell phone footage of Statham's intervention goes viral. Rolled-up newspaper, you'll leave this floor, but not standing. Jason Statham's savage warning before takedown. Anchor segments played the clips back-to-back. Slow-motion breakdowns of Jason's movements. Analysts admiring his calm under pressure. Martial arts experts praising his technique. That was pure Wing Chun precision, one commentator said. Local police even issued a quiet statement. Mr. Statham acted in the defense of another citizen. No charges are being filed. Public reaction was electric. Artists started sketching tributes within hours. Portraits of Jason with the girl shielded behind him, or Jason standing like a lone guardian amid a frozen, fearful crowd. Talk show hosts joked that evening. You're telling me Jason Statham walks into your Walmart, and you're dumb enough to swing at him? Man deserves a Darwin Award. Across all platforms, one message dominated. Respect. Gratitude. A deep hunger to see real courage and real justice in a world where so many look away. Jason, of course, posted nothing. No tweets. No press statements. He did not need to. The world had already said everything that mattered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Jason did not wait for applause. He did not wait for interviews. He did not even glance back. As security swarmed the downed thug, and the girl's tearful family rushed to embrace her, Jason Statham simply pulled his oversized gray t-shirt back into place, grabbed a fresh bottle of water from a cooler, and walked toward the automatic doors. The afternoon sun poured down outside, casting long golden lines across the pavement. Jason stepped through the glare, blending instantly into the flow of weekend shoppers and downtown noise, just another man in baggy cargo pants and battered sneakers. No cameras followed. No managers shouted. No entourage swarmed. He melted into the rhythm of the city, disappearing into its veins like a ghost, as if he had never been there at all. And yet, his impact lingered. Inside the supermarket. Across the internet. In the stunned hearts of everyone who had witnessed what real strength looked like. Narration moral. True power is not about crushing enemies. It is standing when it matters, without waiting for permission. It is fighting when no one else does, without shouting your name. And it is walking away, not because you lost, but because you had already won the moment you chose to act. The last glimpse some would ever catch of him that day? A man sipping quietly from a bottle of water, and vanishing into the heartbeat of the city he just made better.